The only black Tory I rate is Lanez.
Shade. Hi guys, welcome back again. I have to my right, but to your left, but to my right, two incredible ladies, and because it's 2019, okay, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. We have.
It's because he forgot my name.
I'm thinking about it.
I'm Zamzam.
And Amira.
I'm, as I've always been, Salman.
And I'm Yasin.
And we want to talk to you ladies on something that, I don't know, you guys might have heard of this. You might have heard of this. It's, do you know what I mean? Maybe.
Possibly.
I
I think you need like a content warning because it might be triggering.
It might be the word might trigger.
I'm not going to lie to you.
It really might.
100%. I would want a content. I would want a trigger warning.
Content warning, guys.
Listen, content warning.
Something should come on the screen when they're like
100%. It's going to be all red, beep, 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 alarm. Brexit. The word which has been used and beaten to death, and it's still being used even though it's past October the 31st. No shade to whoever's sitting in number 10 right now. Brexit.
Bad shit. Don't tell me you're a black Tory. The only black Tory I rate is Lanez.
Shade. Wow, again. No.
Tell me in the comments if that was a good joke, because these people are not
Who
appreciating
actually
this
understands
joke.
that joke?
I repeat it 4 times.
Comment if you
Nobody
actually understand that.
No, the only did you repeat it 4 times? He explained it 4 times.
Because there's a guy called Tory Lanez and he's black.
No. The problem isn't that we don't get it.
No, he didn't know.
That's not a problem. That's not. We get the joke.
It's not funny.
Sounds like something a Tory would
You
say.
said the joke, you tweeted the joke, you still didn't get a response. Why did you tweet the joke?
You don't get it. You don't get it. I'll explain it to you.
No, you see, this is what Brexit has done.
This is what Brexit. It's a symptom of Brexit.
It's a symptom.
He just doesn't get it.
So listen, we've got you two young ladies. Amira, you were formerly with the
We're
department.
gonna say.
Huh?
We're gonna say. Formerly a Brexit person.
Formerly,
Formerly
admit it. You were formerly civil servant with the Department for Exiting European Union.
Correct.
And you know, we're looking forward to hearing your perspectives from the inner machinery of, you know,
For the ins and outs.
for the ins and outs, you know,
Ins and outs.
the ins and outs, you know, how you know what's going on from the more ins than out.
We're still in.
Yeah, we're still in. I'm not gonna lie to you. And of course, Zamzam. What else?
Take
Over my head, I can't lie.
Teach him. Give him a.
Don't.
And Zamzam, of course, as the president in the US, you will have your own perspective on this. Amir, we'll start with you. Can you just give us a quick run through, kind of your spark notes, if you will, of Brexit?
Of what Brexit is.
Of what Brexit
What
is.
is Brexit?
What
You
is
know
Brexit?
what's happened,
Wow.
what's happening now, and what's potentially going to happen. No pressure.
That is absolutely no pressure. To just
I said
like,
that, you know.
should I start? Should I start before 2016?
Give us a journey.
Pre-2016
Yeah, do you know
referendum?
what? Just tell us the milestones you think are important. So run us through what's happened. Run us through where we are right now, what the problem is.
Right, so just give you like a little background. So
Yeah.
2016, 23rd of June.
Ooh,
Got
okay.
dates here.
Dates, okay.
Date timelines.
Receipts. Okay, I see that.
The UK had a vote, referendum. So the UK voted on whether we should remain or leave the EU. The UK voted leave, 52% to 48%.
Okay.
And it was actually one of the largest votes that people came out and voted for. So that's actually, you know, very telling in itself that a lot of people were out here voting in terms of whether they wanted to leave or not.
Yeah.
So the Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, put this obviously into motion, and then left us. Basically said, all right then, see you later, mate.
I'm gonna leave it to you guys. You deal with it. Yeah.
Actually, how many of you guys thought we were going to leave? Like, what did you guys think on the day?
Honestly,
Yo, I ain't gonna lie to you, I was laughing my head off because that was one of the funniest nights on Twitter I have ever witnessed.
So you just were loving social media
Wallah, it was
reaction.
hilarious.
I kid you not.
You know when the stats were coming out,
Yeah.
someone said, I think Remain should like try and bang them on a counter attack because his possession thing. I was crying. I was over the moon that this Brexit was happening, to be honest with you.
okay.
So you were happy about
Because
it?
I'm European. No, well,
Wow.
Your initial response was happiness.
I found it funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was,
Do you know what we
I was
call
happy
that?
about
We
it.
call that karma.
That's 100%.
Yeah,
It's your
that's
fault. We're leaving because of you. You're the problem.
You're the problem.
You're the problem.
Which is my thing is,
Yeah.
I genuinely was so confident that evening.
Mm.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I was watching it being like, what do you mean? We're not gonna leave. We're not
You
gonna leave. We're not gonna. Brexit's not.
Do you know what it is? I think nobody knew what the actual outcome would be. So whatever they were campaigning for, they didn't know how it would go. What would be the next steps? What would it look like? What would a Brexit look like? The word wasn't even formed when the referendum was about.
True.
It came about afterwards, like once the fallout of the vote happened. I think when David Cameron and the politicians put this vote to the public, they don't know what was gonna happen and how it was gonna end up. Like now that we're in this position, like 3 years later, and I think that's the impact. We didn't know what impact it would have.
So run us through the chronology. So we've referendum voted. We've voted to leave.
Yeah.
Cameron,
Yeah.
where are we next?
Theresa May is now our Prime Minister, and she
Theresa
has
who?
Theresa May, and she has to now negotiate with the EU what kind of deal and what that's going to look like. What is Brexit going to look like? And a word formed Brexit,
Absolutely.
and people started to choose their sides of what they wanted.
Some strong and stable leadership.
Yes, some very steady leadership.
Steady, yeah.
Very
Running
steady.
through Wheatfield, yeah.
Careful, guys, she's gonna start crying again.
Or she's gonna start dancing. Did you see that?
Oh, please don't.
God. Oh my God.
So yeah, and I think people weren't actually aware of the other aspects. So there was people saying we need to have another vote, another referendum.
Yeah.
There was people that were saying this is not real, like it's not actually going to happen. Like, but Theresa May actually had to go to Brussels and she had to go to Europe and be like, what's going to happen? She had to trigger Article 50, and that's basically the legislation that needed to be triggered for the Brexit pathway to happen, and that happened in March 2017.
Yeah.
So that's like a full year after we've actually voted to leave. So she said March 2017, Article 50 is triggered. We are going to look to leave 29th of March 2019. We're in November 2019. We haven't left. So a lot has happened from March, 2019 to now, and a lot of that is basically UK coming up with this is the deal that we can negotiate, going to Brussels, them saying okay cool, them coming to Parliament here in the UK, and the UK politicians just being like no, that's not the deal we want. And I think that's where the obscurity comes into play with people and the public not knowing what's going on. They keep seeing Brexit on the news, flashlights, you get these notifications on your phone, this bill hasn't gone through, or this vote has happened, but no one understands it. I will never forget, like I was in the gym, like I think it was in March, and I was with my friend, and the TV screens in the gym were basically showing a vote that was happening in the House of Parliament, the House of Commons, and I'm just like not even running on the treadmill, I'm like watching it, because I was working in government at the time, and I'm so involved in it, and everyone else is just on their phones, like listening to music, no one cares, because no one understands the actual impact that it's going to have. And I think that's what needs to be open, like the conversation of what impact is it going to have on us as people, because these votes and things and the deal and have we got a deal, have we not, that's not interesting to our everyday people. Like,
Yeah, but it's so complicated though.
it's so
Because
complicated.
even I'm clued up
Yeah.
to a certain extent,
And
right?
it's
And I-
complicated.
and I'm like, whoa, wait, what they voted again? Like, how's this gonna like? And actually, there are times in which like even like MPs don't know why something's
No
going
clarity,
down.
no clarity.
Like it's all a madness.
So Amira, we talk about the chronology of Brexit. We've gone through certain stages. Where are we right now? So post March, post Theresa May's deadline not going through with Boris's election. Where are we right now in the schedule?
So
we heard a lot about the October
Yeah.
31st
deadline,
deadline.
So
we'd be
with like
leaving,
You know,
do or die was Boris
his,
Johnson's
yeah,
words.
yeah.
Like, do or
Yeah,
die.
yeah.
We're going to leave do or
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
Just
Not like,
he's still alive.
you're alright. You're still alive.
I'm alright, you're alright.
Yeah. So currently we are in November 2019. October 31st has passed. And what happened basically is the week running up to October 31st, Boris Johnson went back to Europe and he negotiated a new deal, withdrawal agreement that would include. So the main issue that we were having, why the deal wasn't going through, is I don't know if you've heard the backstop.
Yeah.
So the customs union, Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and the border, and how that would work basically. So the politicians here were basically up in arms, like there can't be a harsh border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. That can't work. So every time we went to Europe to kind of negotiate this, they were like, no, we don't care, and that was the problem. So Boris Johnson went and he said he made such good changes with the deal because now the customs union will be in place, will only be in place for a certain amount of time. I believe it's until 2021, like January-ish, potentially. I don't know the dates, but I could check them. So he basically did that, and that was the major breakthrough. And he said that's why we definitely leave for October 31st. So I think that week, coming up to October 31st, a vote happened in Parliament with all the politicians, and they said no to the deal. They said we don't want it. That's not going to happen. And then what was put on the table was general election. So you started hearing whispers, yeah, general election. Boris put that on the table. They said no. So that kept happening for like 4 weeks. Like this is just the past week that's just passed. You saw that the vote kept happening. They would say no. So I think it happened 3 times.
Because the Parliament's in deadlock, right? Like
it's in deadlock.
Pass anything.
It's unprecedented for the Parliament to sit on a Saturday, and also for Parliament to basically come out of recess as well. That's what happened. Like at one point.
When they broke Parliament, and like there was
exactly.
It was essentially like
what was that?
So essentially, what Boris did is what was the
prorogation.
Yeah. So like, essentially, it meant that like the Parliament was suspended for like 2 weeks.
Okay.
And where they couldn't pass policy.
Yeah.
It was like a unique thing that hasn't happened for centuries, and you have to go to the Queen to approve it.
So nobody was sitting.
So why did she approve it though?
Because essentially, the reality is the Queen doesn't really like. She's advised by the Prime Minister, and like
special advisors and people who would say that this is
so, like,
the best option.
There is
right
no instance where the Queen would be like, no, this isn't in the political interest of the country. Like that is her role to do, and so her role was to say yes.
So it's all ceremonial then.
Yes, of course, of course, monarchy is like very ceremonial in our country.
Okay.
So yeah.
So why did Boris do that? Why did he
because at that time it was deadlock. So at that time there was no movement in terms of negotiations. Nothing was happening.
It's his way of like pushing it through.
Pushing through, exactly, and like making sure that the politicians didn't keep getting their way. Because that's what was happening with Theresa May. She'd get something, get somewhere, or what she thought was somewhere, and nobody was really responding to it back here, back home. So I think he thought the best option would then be to suspend Parliament, not have their say on it, and try to push this deal through. And he kept like alluding to a no-deal situation would be the worst possible scenario. And like if you don't understand what that means, a no-deal would basically we crash out of. We leave the EU without a deal with them. And at that moment that means free movement, all the things that we do have in place stop from that point. So
we're like Brazil basically, or any other country.
Exactly, we are just an outside third party country. We're no longer a part of the EU, have nothing to do with them. And obviously that would make no sense for anyone. There are people that say, oh, no deal is exaggerated and actually it wouldn't be that bad. But from actually working in government and actually seeing all the stuff, preparations and things that they're doing, it would be pretty like detrimental to the UK if we just went to leave without any deal completely. So that's why that whole 2-week period happened. And now currently we're facing a general election on 12th of December, and all the Brexit negotiations, everything's been put on hold. So there's really nothing happening at the moment with that till that general election happens, and it's pretty crazy because time's ticking. It's November now, so when the election happens, the person who becomes elected is only going to have a month and a bit to get another deal in. Is it realistic?
Well, is it not likely that they'll probably extend it again?
That's what I'm saying. Is it realistic to now say January 31st, 2020? Is it not really?
No.
Probably.
No.
We're probably going to hit March again. They're going to probably extend it
They're
again.
gonna have like what? Is it like 5 weeks actually?
Yeah.
After they start with it's a bit mad.
So this general election now, are there kind of clearly demarcated lines? So for one party, if you vote for one party, it's either pro-Brexit or anti-Brexit. Are the lines clear in this general election?
Not really, and the issue was that like Jeremy Corbyn said, if he would only go for a general election if no deal was taken off the table. I don't know if that's something you guys heard of. So Boris said, no deal was taken off the table, but there's no guarantee that the no deal will be taken off the table, so he can't even really say that. And there are clear lines in terms of Conservatives are obviously going to work for the Brexit to happen, but are all the Labour politicians not wanting Brexit to happen? I don't know. That's the thing. You have to look at.
I think my personal opinion, like it's the mistakes that the big political parties have made is that they've tried to stay slightly as nuanced as possible in the conversations. Because the reality is like if you leaving the European Union doesn't actually make financial sense, right? From like a perspective of an organisation, and like the rights that you have as a university, for example, right? Like for students to be able to come and study in an institution, the support, etc. So like actually, like from a lot of different perspectives, it doesn't make any sense. So in the Conservative Party, and essentially the Conservative Party called it, right? And so they called it not really at the time thinking
Understanding,
that actually gonna go through and we're gonna be in the situation we have. And then on top of that, they've had like they're on the third leader right now, right?
Yeah, they had multiple opportunities the last 3
to-
years. They
to-
called
to
it,
present
and
a deal.
yeah, and they had the chances to then put this through, and it hasn't worked. So I guess a general election is the next step. Do we need
And I think,
leadership?
but I think the thing is that I think the Conservative Party haven't more or less been that clear as a collective about what their stance is, right? And same with the Labour Party. The Labour Party hasn't been that clear about what their stance is.
So we can't definitively say that Labour are for Remain.
So Labour have definitively said that they would support a second referendum that had Remain on the ballot.
Okay.
They've said that
That's what
explicitly. they said it needs to go back to the people. The people need to understand what they're saying.
What does having Remain on the ballot mean?
I mean, essentially, it gives
Same as the
people,
first one.
it gives people the option of like you
Voting
either vote
again,
for this deal, and this is what it comes with X, Y, Z. That's what you're voting
Or you
for,
vote
or you
for
vote to Remain.
So the deal that we keep
You know?
referring to is the withdrawal agreement.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the withdrawal agreement is the deal. So I feel like a lot of people have that misconception of what is all these things that they're saying, the deal, no deal, it's withdrawal agreement. So it's basically what the UK have negotiated to leave the EU with. So a customs union, free movement of people, that type of thing, is there going to be free trade. So the problem that politicians are having is a lot of the politicians that voted to leave are saying we don't want to be in the EU customs union. We want to make deals with other countries like third parties like Japan and Latin America and all these other deals that the US have. We don't want to be part of the EU. Whereas the deal that we kept getting with Theresa May is basically we've left, but it's like a soft Brexit. We haven't actually left, and that's what people are kind of not wanting.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because some people want like complete sovereignty.
Yeah.
Like we want to run our country. Like we're gonna make Britain great again. I don't recall when Britain was ever great. If I'm honest with you. And then there's like the whole concept of like actually no, we want to be able to govern and like run our own laws, but we also want easy access to European countries.
Yeah,
We want to be able to
of
trade. We want to have privy to X, Y, Z. Like you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Like, it's not realistic. And so like and when people talk about like the Norway model, for example, that is and like the committee have like outright said that they're never gonna work with the UK.
They're never going to go for that.
Never gonna go for it.
They're never going to go for the Norway because that's the Norway deal or the Canada deal. Because that's what the UK were originally looking at, what Canada has.
Yeah.
That can't work. The UK was part of when the EU was like formulated, you know? It's not going to be as easy for them to just have like a similar deal to that. That's why we've had to negotiate a completely different deal. And I feel, personally, like that I've actually had to read the withdrawal agreement as part of my role in my previous job, and it at that time didn't make any sense for a lot of people that voted for Brexit, like the farmers and the people that live in like the outskirts of London, because a lot of London voted to remain, and Brexit won't affect them as much as it will affect other people in terms of like seamen who are fishing in the waters in Norway and all those places. Can we actually go do that now that we're not part of the EU? In terms of what I would say to people who are thinking, how will Brexit affect me personally? If you are born in Britain and you are like an EU national, you have a EU passport, for example, make sure you get a certain status. Looking at you guys, make sure you get your certain status. If you don't know what that is, basically to say you are settled in the UK, you've been here for 5 years continuously, and it's a program basically that the Home Office are doing, and it's something that everyone should look into. Because
we'll tag it in the
100%. It's on the government website, like, and it should be looked at, because if you think, Brexit's not going to affect me, if it does happen, it is going to affect you, because
it's going to affect
everyone. Everyone's going to affect everyone. Students,
it's going to
people
affect
who
people
work.
disproportionately, but it's definitely affect everyone.
Yeah, so if you do have an EU passport, I would say go and look at settled status and fill out the forms. It's a long process, but I think that the last time I checked, like 2 million people have applied for it, but the most people that have applied for it are Polish, Italian, and like I think Romanian people from those countries. But I know a lot of the Somali community, for example, are from like Scandinavian countries.
I'm telling you, most of the people I know in the UK.
Scandinavian countries, like, you know what I mean?
Countries.
So
Can we mention Holland as well, please?
Netherlands, alright, cool.
We said most. And Holland is Do you know what I mean? I don't want to get political.
Well, Scandinavia is 4 countries, I'm just obviously.
So yeah, just make sure you look into that as well and how it affects you as a person,
Yeah.
because I know we hear about it in the news and everything, but they don't tell you how it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what the problem is, because we don't understand that, and we go on social media and we crack jokes about what is the government doing, we don't understand, but it will affect you. And so yeah, that's the only thing I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing, Amira. You know, a lot of people say, let's, because we're hearing this a lot, in our politics and kind of just everyday people. A lot of people saying, let's just leave and then everything, everything's going to be all right. This withdrawal agreement, okay, what they're talking about now. What happens after? So if we sign up, okay, let's say there isn't another delay. Okay, let's say come January, we manage to sign that. Is that it? Is it done? We finished?
Yeah. So then there's the other part to this whole leaving process, and that's the political declaration. And that is the long-term relationship we're going to have with the EU. So the withdrawal agreement is for when we just leave, like what other things are going to happen as soon as we leave. The political declaration is basically what will happen with our relationship with the EU for the long term. How will it look like?
So that's even longer negotiation?
That's even not longer negotiated. Well, it's actually been negotiated and it's been put through, like the political declaration is done. And people don't know that. People just see the withdrawal agreement and how that's still being negotiated. But political declaration, I think it was sometime like early 2019, like before March 29, that was, I said, the long-term relationship, we've got that pattern.
Oh, so
they've actually like said okay to that for what the long term will look like, but we don't know how it's going to happen straight away.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps getting negotiated. So I just watch the space, I guess. It's still moving.
Yeah, I mean, this general election will determine, because of the reality of the government has been such a deadlock that like a new parliament's going to have to come into place, and I guess the public, through how they vote, is going to decide what they want to see and who they want to make the decision.
Question though, what do you guys think is going to happen come 12th December?
Mad!
Are you can't guess?
So, do you know what? I'll be honest with you. Before the elections was called, I was like,
well, first declare your bias. Do you have
bias? What bias?
Did you have votes? Who are you?
The president of the National Union of Students. I represent 7 million students in the UK.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay.
However, I think it's clear that there is one political party that has put students in their manifesto, right? They've committed to investing in students, committing to investing in the education system, and so whereas another political party has for the last couple of years just cut students from
Did you see them admitting that Boris' advisors admitting that they were trying to make the election at a certain point so that students wouldn't be able to actually vote or be very Okay, well we'll plug that. Listen, we'll plug that. Put it in the description box. Don't worry about it.
But honestly, the reality is though, they know that young people vote a certain way, right? Young people are invested in essentially like Labour, right? Let's be honest. Labour Party, the Green Party, some vote for the Lib Dems, but and it's usually because those political parties actually include students in their manifesto. They make sure that they put something in there that appeals to young people. And so one of the biggest thing that I'm doing now during the general election is reminding students that we are a generation that needs to vote, right? Because this is such a huge decision. The impacts of whatever happens in January will affect us for a decade or so, right? And so this isn't a light vote. This isn't just another general election and another one's going to be put. Genuinely, this is the time in which we have the power to influence the election I want to see.
Will Europeans be able to vote in this election?
No. So there was actually surprisingly not. So when they were passing the bill for the general election, there was 2 amendments that was permitted. One was to give Europeans the right to vote, and the other one was to allow 16-year-olds to vote. And of course, both of them weren't rejected. And there's a fear of young people are never going to vote
the right way.
The
right way.
Whatever establishment say, it's the right way. And then again, the Europeans are swayed to a certain extent. But the reality is, how long have you lived here? I've lived here for 15 years, right? I have like involved and run campaigns. I'm invested in the economy and like the progression of this country. Like I am British, right? Whether anyone says also, like I am British. I'm a part of the furniture here. And so I should have the right to vote, right? There isn't. I don't think it should be an argument of if or like what I should have the right to vote. But the reality is, again, because first of all, the just general election is going to be so centered around Brexit, be so centered around like what are we doing in the European Union, that to them it's like, well, we know what's going to happen if they vote, right? And so like it was another people just swipe off the electorate, and I think we've seen this in like loads of different ways, in like how when there was the introduction of like saying that they were going to introduce ID, right? So they're going to say for you to vote you need to have actual government official ID, and we know that who's that affects young people. Young people, yeah, exactly. Because who's gonna pay for their passport, right? Who's gonna go pay who's gonna go just pay for a driving license, like an ID card? Like those things cost money.
Yeah,
yeah,
of course. Yeah,
100%. So like for me, it's kind of like if people aren't voting the right way, they're gonna always make it harder for them to be able to vote, right? And so yeah, like 100%. Like I think for me, in this general election, it's just make sure the student vote comes out, right? Like young people are voting.
Make sure you vote. That's basically
make sure you get registered. Make sure you vote. Make sure you utilize that. Like honestly, like we're going. So I'm targeting like particular seats in which like I know students can make the difference. Like students can like swing the votes. Students can have an influence. And then we're empowering students, like the universities and the colleges there.
Do you want to name some of those places?
Like,
maybe if we've got some viewers, they can.
I mean, absolutely. So one of the things I'm working on is Brunel. Brunel is a Brunel student. But Brunel is in Uxbridge and South Ruislip, and that actually is Boris Johnson's seat. And the candidate that's going up against him is he's called Ali Malani, and he was the president at Brunel Students' Union. He has worked over at NUS with me last year as vice president. And so he's actually somebody that understands the student experience, the issues the students face. He's somebody that is going to, if he ever gets into parliament, fight on behalf of students, right? Put issues on the agenda on behalf of students because he understands those experiences. Boris Johnson has never like even visited like his local constituents, like and so like, and he doesn't care about students. He doesn't care about. So Boris doesn't care for students. And so like actually for me it's an opportunity where it's actually a marginal seat, right? So students can influence who gets in there. So like Brunel, I think it's like 25-30,000 students at Brunel. It's a big campus, right?
Big campus.
But also they have influence over like local community. They can go canvas. They can and like to me it goes really way beyond just like campaigning for a political party. It's about somebody that stands for your values, somebody that represents you and understands your experiences. And so like what we're doing is like we're influencing and trying to change the narrative in places like where young people can influence change.
The polling station's at actual Brunel University.
Yeah,
so like
Brunel,
you can come out and like vote, and it's obviously on campus.
Yeah, there's like student accommodation.
Yeah. So it's like a major hub basically to get
like,
votes.
100%. I mean, if you're at any university and you want a campus, or you want to support, or like you want to just contact me.
So you guys provide support?
Absolutely. Resources, support. We probably have like people are running different areas, so like we have a team behind things.
Okay.
100%.
And we'll put the contact details down below, so you can contact Zamzam personally. Like Zamzam, help me. Try to stop Boris.
Come join us, yeah.
Ladies, thank you so much for illuminating conversation. I think the biggest takeaway from all this is, if you are eligible, do register to vote, because this is one of those. It's crazy how many times we've said this over the past couple of years, but this is a once in a generation kind of decision. No, I don't think we expected to say that after the first once in a generation decision. There were too many. There were way too many.
Too many
So
100%.
It's been crazy. It's been crazy. So register to vote is the takeaway from this, and obviously vote for the right party. I'm not going to lie to you, there is a bias here towards one direction. We're all either students or ex-students, and it's been very clear which party is willing.
I just want to make her I'm impartial.
Sorry, she's impartial. One person's impartial.
However, vote for the Labour.
Vote for the Labour?
Only the Labour.
No comment.
Excuse me,
He
sir.
doesn't even
No
vote.
comment.
Excuse me,
I
sir.
said what I said.
It's a fair enough. Then you got 2 people. 2 out of 4. I'll take that. That's a positive.
That's half.
That's alright. It's alright.
We
I'm
have
also
principles.
Hey, we have principles. I'm not gonna lie to you. Some people, I'm not gonna lie to you. Do you know what?
I rate Jezza Corbyn though. That's one thing I do.
That's. I'm sure he appreciates that. As usual, it's been wonderful having you, ladies. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you for watching. Again, please do comment, like, and subscribe. Click on the bell, ping, to get notification whenever we post a video. Which, okay, before Zamzam says anything, is going to be very regular. So, Hazim?
Well, sometimes like a star will like explode every 200 million years, and that could be considered regular. So it just depends on what you mean.
Should ask that question. Inshallah.
It's
That is
not-
what he meant.
Inshallah. That's very well.
It'll be regularly irregular.
It's alright.
Thank you for watching.